3 to 1. 3 to 1 dollars spent on cooperative games rather than competitive games. 3 to 1 hours spent playing to achieve the same goal rather than trying to defeat another player. And what happens when we play these social collaborative games is we actually develop trust. We develop a bond. We've gone on this adventure together. We've failed or succeeded together. And gamers actually report that increased bond as actually a kind of love. 7 is surprise. We have the sense of exploration and discovery. Number 6 is pride in our own accomplishments. We're getting better. We're mastering the game. We're leveling up. Number 5 is curiosity. We just want to know what's going to happen next, or how in the world am I going to solve this? What's the solution? We get really curious. 4 is excitement. 3 is awe and wonder, often inspired by the heroic narratives or the epic scale of the world, or being a part of a massively multiplayer community, knowing that there are millions of other people on the same journey that you're on. Number 2 is contentment. We just wouldn't rather be spending our time doing anything else. We're happy just as things are. And the number 1 positive emotion that gamers feel when they play their favorite games is creativity. Now that's really interesting. When gamers sit down to play, they feel creative agency. They feel like they can try something that they haven't tried before. They can come up with a solution that maybe nobody has come up with before. And they can experiment and play and take risks. And that sense of agency and that sense of creative experimentation is really at the heart of the game experience.
Clay Shirky is one of today's most influential thinkers on the Internet's impact on the world. Understand how new technology is disrupting old hierarchies.
This is a change in the business environment, but it's not a change in the business environment because this change is about business. It's a change in the business environment because this change is about everything. It's about every place that groups of people work together. So to illustrate that, not to talk about it in the abstract, I'll just tell a story, and to illustrate the idea that it's not about business, it's about every place we come together. The story I'll tell will start here with a 9-year-old child. You may have seen this happen last week. This is Martha Payne. Martha Payne, a precocious 9-year-old in Scotland. She likes to write, she likes to take photographs, and she likes food. And so she started a blog called Never Seconds, and she would take pictures of the meals she would eat, including, of course, school lunches. Can you spot the vegetable? Right. So Payne would take photos of her school lunches, and then she would come home, write it up, post it online. She would rate the school lunches along various axes, including my favorite, number of hairs found. Right? Lower is better, right? This is the opposite of the Amazon rating system. And over time, right, as Never Seconds started to get spread around, it went from having dozens of readers to hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands of readers. And then this happened end of last week. Payne posted put up a post on her blog that said goodbye. And she said, I was called into the school office today, and I was told that they had banned photography in the lunchroom. So I'm very sorry. Thank you all so much for reading, but I can't do this anymore. I invite you to contemplate what happened to the town council of Argyll and Bute when a 9-year-old said, I fought the law and the law won. Literally international outrage, messages coming in from as far away as Australia and New Zealand. The town council of Argyll and Bute reversed themselves within hours, and they came out with a public statement saying, we would never censor a 9-year-old, leaving off the sort of ... which was except this morning. Right? What they really meant was, please call off the dogs. We're going to let Martha Payne continue to do what she's doing. Right? So it was almost foretold. You could see this story unfolding. When this post went up, you could understand what was going to happen. So what made the town council of Argyll and Bute think they could get away with this? And the answer is all of human history up until now. Right? It has been far and away the normal case that institutions have a very high degree of control over both their employees and their constituents. In fact, what's unusual about this story is not that Argyll and Bute tried to censor Martha Payne. What's unusual about this story is that they failed. And there's a lesson here for any institution, right? It is very often the case that institutions, especially businesses, say, oh, our customers love us. They love us. We never hear them complain, right? But those two statements don't always go together, because it may just be that you didn't hear them complain because they didn't have very good tools for complaining. And now they do. Right? And we've seen example after example after example of this. If you look at HSBC or Verizon or Bank of America, all of those organizations tried to push forward fee increases. And they discovered that now we are in a world in which the customers, if outraged enough, can actually marshal that outrage into a kind of public media presence, the likes of which had never been seen before. Right? This is exactly the same thing that happened to Martha Payne. It's exactly the same thing that happened to the Argyll and Butte Council. But there's a coda to the story. It's not just a story of David and Goliath. Martha Payne, when she saw her audience going up from the dozens to the hundreds to the thousands, said, I should do something nice with all of this attention. This is a 9-year-old girl. So her previous year in school, they had gotten together and they'd scraped together some of their stray money and they'd given it to Mary's Meals, which is a charity that donates food to school children in Africa. And they'd raised 70 pounds. And they were so proud of having sent 70 pounds to Mary's Meals. So Martha Payne said, well, now that I'm getting this attention, why don't I do that again? So she put up a link to Mary's Meals on her site and said, if you're here reading my Never Seconds blog, why don't you go there and donate? As of this morning, they've raised nearly 100,000 pounds. Right? They went from 70 pounds last year to 100,000 pounds this year. This is pretty good year-on-year ROI. Right? All of this stuff creates both threat and opportunity. It is certainly disruptive of the old ways of doing business. When a 9-year-old can acquire a larger audience than live in Argyll and Butte, and can marshal them to communicate with that town council from literally half the world away, that's a different world. That obviously disrupts existing relationships between the town council and the camera-wielding 9-year-olds. But there's also an enormous opportunity here. She saw that opportunity and she said, I can do something good with this. I can create a kind of value that I couldn't have created before. And that roughly is the landscape for every organization looking at these tools now, looking at the new ways that customers, vendors, citizens are coming together, sharing things, getting things done.